Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So today we have number 7, the seventh tendency in Charlie Munger's Psychology of Human Misjudgment talk. And we're going to use the Farnham Street blog today to guide us in this exploration. The full excerpt on Kantian Fairness Tendency is shown here in this blog post. So we're going to read through that. And then there's some additional material that we can dig into to help expand our understanding of Kantian Fairness Tendency. So let's start with what Charlie's written in Poor Charlie's Almanack. Kant was famous for his categorical imperative, a sort of golden rule that required humans to follow those behavior patterns that, if followed by all others, would make the surrounding human system work best for everybody. And it is not too much to say that modern acculturated man displays and expects from others a lot of fairness as thus defined by Kant. In a small community having a one-way bridge or tunnel for autos, it is the norm in the United States to see a lot of reciprocal courtesy, despite the absence of signs or signals. And many freeway drivers, including myself, will often let other drivers come in front of them in lane changes or the like, because that is the courtesy they desire when roles are reversed. Moreover, there is in modern human culture a lot of courteous lining up by strangers so that all are served on a first-come, first-served basis. Also, strangers often voluntarily share equally in unexpected, unearned good and bad fortune. And as an obverse consequence of such fair-sharing conduct, much reactive hostility occurs when fair sharing is expected yet not provided. We've all seen what happens when people cut in line and people notice. It is interesting how the world's slavery was pretty well abolished during the last 3 centuries, after being tolerated for a great many previous centuries, during which it coexisted with the world's major religions. My guess is that Kantian Fairness Tendency was a major contributor to this result. So that's the whole piece in Poor Charlie's Almanack. There's another time when Charlie Munger talked about Kantian Fairness Tendency. That was a talk at UCCB. So let's dig into that. It is not always recognized that to function best, morality should sometimes appear unfair, like most worldly outcomes. The craving for perfect fairness causes a lot of terrible problems in system function. Some systems should be made deliberately unfair to individuals because they'll be fairer on average for all of us. I frequently cite the example of having your career over in the Navy if your ship goes aground, even if it wasn't your fault. I say the lack of justice for the one guy that wasn't at fault is way more than made up by a greater justice for everybody when every captain of a ship always sweats blood to make sure the ship doesn't go aground. Tolerating a little unfairness to some to get a greater fairness for all is a model I recommend to all of you. But again, I wouldn't put it in your assigned college work if you want to be graded well, particularly in a modern law school wherein there is usually an overlove of fairness-seeking process. So this is Charlie bringing some real-world experience here to the table, as opposed to the theories, right, of how to behave that you find in universities. And then a final point on this comes from the law of the higher good in the book The Prince. So I'm going to scroll down. The law of the higher good is a terribly useful model for leaders because it forces them to think about things from a totally different perspective. Here's a hypothetical situation to ponder. You are in charge of running a retail store, and one of your cashiers, an elderly woman, is caught committing a minor embezzlement. Fearing that she might be dismissed, she approaches you to plead forgiveness. She tells you that this is the first time she embezzled money from the company and promises that she'll never do it again. She tells you about her sad situation, namely that her husband is very ill and that she was going to use the money to buy medicines for him. She becomes extremely emotional and your heart is melting. What do? Something similar to the above situation was described by Mr. Munger in a talk. He used two models to produce his answer. The first model was probability. Mr. Munger implores you to reduce the problem to the mathematics of Fermat Pascal by asking the question, how likely is it that the old woman's statement, "I've never done it before, I'll never do it again," is true? Note that this question has nothing whatsoever to do with the circumstances in this particular instance of embezzlement. Rather, Munger is relying on his knowledge of the theory of probability. He asks, if you found 10 embezzlements in a year, how many of them are likely to be first offenses? The possible actions are: 1. She is lying and you fire her. Good outcome because it cures the problem and sends the right signals. 2. She is telling the truth and you fire her. Bad outcome for her, but good outcome for system integrity. 3. She is lying and you pardon her. Bad outcome for system integrity. 4. She is telling the truth and you pardon her. Bad outcome for system integrity because it will send the wrong signal that it's okay to embezzle once. Weighed with probabilities and after considering signaling effects of your actions on other people's incentives and its effect on system integrity, it's clear that the woman should be fired. Looked this way, this is not a legal problem or an ethical problem. It's an arithmetical problem with a simple solution. This extreme reductionism of practical problems to a fundamental discipline, in this case mathematics, is of course the hallmark of the Munger way of thinking and living. So, from a leader's perspective, it's more important to have the right systems with the right incentives in place rather than trying to be fair to one person, even if that person is the leader or someone close to the leader. The logic is that leaders must look at such situations from their civilization's point of view, rather than the viewpoint of an individual. If we create systems which encourage embezzlements or tolerate such systems, will ruin our civilization. If we don't punish the woman, the idea that it's okay to do minor embezzlement once in a while will spread because of incentive effects and social proof. Everyone's doing it, so it's okay. And we cannot let that idea spread because that will ruin our civilization. It's that simple. So this was a fantastic overview of the seventh tendency in the psychology of human misjudgment, Kantian Fairness Tendency. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That's all I have for today. Take care, and I'll see you next time.